from GSSS Hajj Camp, and I'm here with my colleague to oppose the notion which states Nigeria should stop all exploration and focus on renewable energy. Before I proceed, let me briefly explain the key terms. Oil exploration to begin with is the use of oil in order to gain numerous advantages and generate revenue. While renewable energy at the other hand are those types of energy that can be replaced naturally. Having known this, I will back up my stance with the following points. First and foremost is economic implications. Nigeria's oil revenue accounts for about 6.25% of the GDP, which is approximately $43.5 billion US. Putting a sudden stop to this revenue will lead to lack of infrastructure, joblessness, loss of revenue, and many others, where we may experience a downward spiral rather than an upward trend and regression instead of progression. And after all, we don't want to expect Nigeria to just displace one of its main source of revenue, which it has spent decades to invest and develop to me. Secondly, is renewables potential's negative drastic effects. My opponents may want to cite the environmental effects of oils, but it's crucial to consider the potential downsides of renewables. Renewables typically require a large area of land, highlighting the case of the large-scale solar farms that requires about 5 times hectares of land, that of vertical farms which uses fossil fuels for 1 megawatt electricity. Or use hydroelectricity and wind turbines that will displace ecosystem and wildlife habitats, reduce the population of birds and aquatic life, leading to mass extinction events affecting biodiversity. Or mining for rare earth metals that can have a negative environmental drastic effects, and even displacement of some more local communities due to industrialization, and many more drastic effects, some yet to be discovered. For there is a saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. However, Nigeria's energy demands are still massively relying on fossil fuels. Studying this continued exploration could lead to loss of energy security, because I wonder how the publics of a developing country like that of Nigeria will conveniently afford electric vehicles or get access to CNG vehicles that could worth billions of dollars, because yes, what renewables will do generalized is through the surface while the root remains untouched. Furthermore, improved technology and innovations can and will reduce the environmental impacts of greenhouse gas emissions caused by fossil fuels. CCS, carbon capture and storage, works by capturing CO2 from power plants, industrial processes and transportation, then utilizing them in products like concrete. Also, EOR, enhanced oil recovery methods, work by increasing the production of oil exploration while reducing the environmental impact. Governments also engaging with local communities and ensuring fair compensation for land use will foster interpersonal relationships. In conclusion, a tested system which has been trusted is way better than an unknown system we are not prepared for. Else, the implications might turn out to be a vague certainty without an accurate preparations for a whole lot of uncertainty. And this is the case of stopping all exploration just to focus on renewables. Nigeria could instead also invest in renewables for diversification of economy and future buoyancy, as Nigeria is still a developing country and other countries are developing, but stopping us for renewables is absolutely not an option. With this, I hereby restate my stance that Nigeria should not stop all exploration just to focus on renewable energy. Thank you.
Good morning, the chairman, panel of judges, the timekeeper, my co-debaters, and my audience. My name is Kara Dominica Chinecherem. I am a student of Government Secondary School Hajj Camp, Abuja, standing here to strongly oppose the motion which states Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. But before I proceed, I would like to define two terms for better understanding of the subject matter. First, oil exploration. What is oil exploration? Oil exploration can be defined as digging deep of underground resources to meet global demand. Second, renewable energy. Renewable energy can be defined as those forms of energy which are gotten naturally and can replenish itself throughout its lifespan. We all know that oil is the blood of the modern world. Stopping oil exploration now in Nigeria would not only cripple the Nigerian economy, it will lead to mass unemployment and deepen energy poverty. Below are my reasons why I am opposed to this idea. First, job loss and social instability. Stopping oil exploration now in Nigeria will not only lead to job loss, it will also lead to social instability. We all know that the oil and gas industry employs thousands of youths every year. Imagine these youth being deprived of their job due to renewable energies. It will lead to mass youth unrest, mass unemployment, economic hardship, and increase in crime rates. Now, to my judges and my audience, would you prefer to see your young daughters, sons, our youth be roaming around the streets due to job loss, or will you raise a voice against stopping of oil exploration and focusing on renewable energy? I will leave that for you to answer. Second, oil remains a vital component for energy transition. Energy transition occurs globally, and oil continues to play a significant role in meeting the needs of the future generation without compromising the need of this generation, without compromising the need of the future generation to meet their own need. Furthermore, oil, a vital source of government revenue. Oil continue to remain play a very significant role in shaping our future and also taking care of our economic system. Nigerian economy solely depends on oil because it generates significant income for the government, increasing our revenue, and also Nigeria is African oil biggest producer, with fossil fuels accounting 30% of government revenue and 60% of foreign exchange. A shift from oil exploration now in Nigeria will lead to severe economic repercussions such as decreased government revenue, mass unemployment, social instability, and economic instability. In conclusion, stopping oil exploration now in Nigeria is an impractical and disastrous approach. With the following points of mind, I hope I've been able to convince you and still maintain my stand on Nigeria not stopping oil exploration and focusing on renewable energy. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, worthy opponents, and my fellow debaters. My name is Maitama Abuja from GSSS Hajj Camp, Abuja. Today we have had a provoking talk on whether Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. However, as the third speaker of the opposing side, I would like to highlight some crucial points on this motion. To begin with, while renewable energy stands as a vital component for the future, but abandoning oil exploration can lead to severe economic instability to Nigeria. Oil industry has increased significantly to our GDP and government revenue. A sudden shift in oil exploration can lead to economic instability, job losses, potentially even social unrest. Secondly, Nigeria's energy needs are vast and diverse. Renewable energies like wind and solar hold promise. They currently lack the capacity to reach to everyone's energy demand, while oil remains a vital component to our energy demands, especially for industries like manufacturing and transportation. Thirdly, transitioning to oil exploration requires a significant investment in infrastructure and technology. Nigeria will need a potential funds in expertise, human capacities, in order to make this transition successful. Without an adequate resources, this may lead to economic hardship and energy shortage. In conclusion, the benefits of renewable energy cannot be overemphasized, but abandoning oil exploration can potentially be premature and disastrous. A balanced approach that considers our energy need and demand will be more important and prudent. Thank you.
Why stop what still works for us when we're not yet ready for the alternative? You don't forfeit your only ladder just because you admire the rooftop. If a nation must rise, do we abandon the very pillar that still holds it upright? Today's motion proposes that Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. But I ask, do we burn the bridge that brought us here while the new road is still under construction? With this, I bid a good day to the organizers, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debater, and dear Nigerians. My name is Silver Peter from Government Science Secondary School, Maitama Abuja, and I stand to strongly oppose the motion that says Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. And with the following point of mind, I start to argue. Oil keeps Nigeria's economy stable. Nigeria derives roughly 60 to 70% of its federal government revenue and over 90% of its export earnings from petroleum exports. An abrupt cessation of oil would unravel critical fiscal buffers, precipitating currency devaluation, soaring inflation, and collapsing budgetary allocation in health, education, and security. More so, Nigeria's renewable energy is still marginal. Despite ambitious targets, Nigeria utility scale solar wind installation amount to a few dozen megawatts, less than 1% of its peak demand, which hovers around 12,000 megawatts. Until grid-connected renewables reliably supply baseload power, a large-scale shutdown of oil is infeasible. Next, no immediate substitute for oil in heavy industries. Petrochemicals, cement manufacturing, and steel production rely on petroleum-based feedstocks and continuous high-heat processes technologies, for which renewable-driven alternatives like green hydrogen remain at pilot stage globally. Additionally, stopping oil will cripple public services, with oil contributing more than 70% of federal government allocation. Halting exploration will force draconian budget cuts, teachers' salaries delayed, hospitals' equipment procurement frozen, and Abuja's mass transit incomplete. Such a fiscal void cannot be bridged by carbon credits and concessional loans overnight. Furthermore, the world needs oil and Nigeria will profit. Even as advanced economies decarbonize, emerging markets in South Africa and Asia will import oil for decades, and Nigeria, with its low lifting costs, is well positioned to maintain its reserves, fund the gradual transition, and invest financial windfalls in renewables. Another crucial point to consider is that oil pays Nigeria's debt and supports the naira. Nigeria's external debt obligation, which hovers around 40 billion US dollars, must be met in hard currency, and oil earnings underpins foreign exchange reserves that stabilize the naira and keep bond yields from spiking. Losing such a stream risks sovereign debt crisis. Moving on, renewable energy require huge startup costs. Building gigawatt-scale solar farms, requiring pipelines for green hydrogen, and erecting wind farms require investments in tens of billions of dollars. And without accumulated rents and massive concessional loans, Nigeria cannot underwrite this capital outlay alone. Also, we don't have enough experts or technology yet. Nigeria's renewable energy is nascent, as there are fewer than 200 certified renewable energy engineers, and many critical components like PV modules, wind turbines, and storage inverters must be imported. A rapid pivot would exacerbate technological dependency and drive up import bills. Ultimately, oil gives us strategic energy security. Over-reliance on imported solar panels and foreign EPC contractors for wind projects exchange one form of dependence for another. In contrast, maintaining oil exploration preserves indigenous value in drilling, refining, and distribution. Thank you.
Standing on existing protocol, I am Maitama Abuja, still representing Government Science Secondary School Maitama, and to give credence to this topic of discourse, I am here to report some of the points my opponents may likely make. First, they may choose to say that oil is a cause, but in actuality, oil makes for over 80% of Nigeria's foreign revenue and funds most of our infrastructure. The United Delta's pollution is tragic, but it's due to corruption and poor regulation, not oil. We must fix our systems, not abandon our main income source. They claim Nigeria has solar and wind potential, but potential doesn't power Lagos. In Nigeria today, oil and gas make for over 80% of our electricity, and over 14 solar projects have crashed over the past 5 years. Clearly, Nigeria does not have the structure to run on sunlight alone. They say 700,000 green jobs by 2050, but that's a projection, not a guarantee. The oil and gas sector makes for over 2 million direct and indirect Nigerian jobs, and we can't gamble the livelihoods of our Nigerians on a sector we haven't fully built or developed yet. They claim that Nigeria spends 29 trillion naira on generators yearly. That may sound true, but due to a weak national grid system, not because we lack solar. A basic home solar system costs 2 to 5 million naira, a cost most Nigerian families can't afford. We must strengthen what we have, not abandon it. They may also say that the world is moving on from oil, but oil demand is projected to remain steady till at least 2050, especially in aviation and manufacturing. Countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have continuously drilled oil while investing in solar. Why? Because smart nations transition, not crash out. They may also say that oil kills the environment, but let's be real, climate justice means lifting people out of poverty. In Nigeria today, millions still use firewood to cook. If we must fund renewables, oil must remain in the picture. Oil must fund the future, not be scrapped. They may also say that foreign investors are pulling out, but in actuality, oil and gas pulled in $5 billion in investors in 2023, and at the same time, the 90 billion Dangote refinery has just been launched, Africa's biggest oil project. Clearly, oil still holds its value. Oil isn't the enemy, mismanagement is. Let's reform, not remove oil. Let oil and renewables work together to fund and build Nigeria's energy sector's future. To close up my rebuttal, I leave my opponents with this. I once met a woman in the dusty parts of northern Nigeria. She boiled water over cooking gas, and her children read with a kerosene lamp. She had heard of solar, but when I told her the price, she laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it sounded impossible. Now, how do I tell that woman to wait for panels that she can't afford and take away the only fuel that keeps her family warm? My opponents may say, let's stop oil, let's go green. But oil isn't something we can refuse. Oil is our engine. Oil funds our hospitals, our education, our security. Oil is the lifeblood of our nation. So I leave my opponents with this question. Should we throw away what works for us now just because we hope something else might work later? Thank you.
Still representing Government Science Secondary School Maitama Abuja, I am Amale Christine. And to add to what my second speaker has said, for a moment, let me ask a hard but honest question. What happens if Nigeria stops exploring oil? No more oil revenue, but yet that same oil builds about 7% 70% of our national budget. No more foreign exchange, but yet that same oil brings about 90% of our export earnings. How do we build roads? How do we invest in the educational sector? How do we invest in hospitals? How do we power the renewables my opponents passionately recommend? Let's talk about renewables. Yes, Nigeria is blessed with sunshine. It is blessed with wind. But over 85 million Nigerians are still in darkness. We cannot rely on renewables because we don't have the power to depend on it. Meanwhile, oil and gas have been boosting Nigeria's economy over the years. Foreign investors are pumping money into the oil sector. Why? Because they understand the assets we risk forgetting. Now, some may say that the world is moving on, but yes, the world is moving on, but with strategy, not desperation. Countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE are still exploring in oil. Why? Because wise nations do not destroy the foundations that built them, they build upon them. Fellow Nigerians, this is not just about oil. This is about our stability. This is about our economy. This is about the farmer who needs gas to fertilize his crops. This is about the students who use the kerosene lamp to read at night. This is about the millions of Nigerians whose livelihood depends on oil and the systems it sustains. To draw to a close, I leave you with this. Fellow Nigerians, let us be wise. Let us be gradual. Let us reform and manage the oil that has been boosting our economy for years. For Nigeria, for the future, and for the people in this nation, I stand to strongly oppose this motion. Thank you. I remain Favor Peter from Government Science Secondary School, Maitama Abuja. And in summary, if we stop oil today, what will fill the gap? No budget, no foreign exchange, just a collapsing map. 70% of our revenues gone with one world when millions of Nigerians still cry in the dark unheard. Yes, the sun shines and the wind blows free, but only hope won't power rural families. Solar costs millions, too steep a climb, while oil flows are present time. Giants of green, Saudi, UAE, still drifts beneath the sea. They know you don't till the root to grow the tree. You build your future carefully. So let's not act in haste or pride. Let oil and renewables work side by side. Let's reform it, not abandon it. Be bold, not blind. And I leave you with this question. Would you break your only bridge while you're still at middle? Thank you.